Welcome back to the Sharon Cliff podcast. If you are a regular listener, our show has been on a hold for a little while because, you know what, life gets in the way, and I've just been focusing on serving my existing clients. So back in the podcast chair with microphone on. Now, can you believe it's the 30th of December? Well, I'm actually recording this live today when it actually drops. So it is the 30th of December. There's only one more day left in 2022. Is that just insane? I mean, 2022 was just the year of shocking. We were just shocked about everything that was happening all around the world. 2021 was just insane, and people were pivoting, and no one had direction. But 2022 was just indescribable. I'm seeing everyone's end of the year posts and reels and end of year wrap up podcasts, and everyone's just like, what the hell that just happened to this year? No one feels grounded or in flow after 2022. No one really knows what's sort of gone on. It's a really bizarre year, and I really felt that too. I felt really busy. I sort of accomplished a lot, but then when I looked at what I originally set out to achieve through the year, it didn't pan out that way. And I think a lot of people just got to the end of the year and just gone, what was that tornado that just happened? So anyway, so 2022, I love at the end of each year to look back and reflect on, what intentions and goals and what theme I set for the year and how that actually panned out. I also like to look at the highs and the lows, and I also like to practice gratitude for the great things that happened. And I also like to look at the lessons that I learned and what I need to take into the next year. And what I had discovered when I went to put this podcast together is that I had to go back and look through photos and posts and different things through the year to jog my memory on what's happened. And one of the things I'm going to look at for 2023 is each month actually wrap up the month before. So, at the last day of the month, really look at what's happened for the month. So practicing that gratitude, looking at the lessons I've learned, look at what I want to take into the next month. And then you're setting the intention for the next month. So that's really what I want to do. Don't wait to the end of the year to look back and reflect and learn the lessons and practice the gratitude. Do it each month. So that was the thing that I learned just by learning what I'd, done for the year. And before I jump in and actually share what I think are my highs and lows for the year, I just really wanted to share with you my words for the years, going back through the years. Because in 2015, I heard about this thing about, your word of the year. That sounds really cool. And so every year since 2015, I have had a word or a theme that I focus on. So everything I do, I also look at that word and think, is that reflecting it with the decisions I'm going to make? Is that going to make that word prominent through everything that I'm doing? So here's a look back on my words for the year. So in 2015, I wanted flexibility. And I achieved that because I went from working full-time for someone else to actually starting my side hustle, which was started consulting for marketing and events and process improvement and all that sort of thing. So it was, transitioning from that full-time 9 to 5 for someone else into doing my own business. So flexibility was 2015. 2016 was all around community. So my word for that was community. So, I'd gone from the corporate, having everyone around me, to then having this solo entrepreneur business that I didn't have anyone around me. So I really built a really strong community of like-minded people around me in 2016. So another tick. 2017 was all about connection. So yes, I had this community, but I really need to feel deeply connected. And it wasn't just connected around my business. It was connected with family, with friends, with neighbors, with everything. It was just, and feeling connection with everyone else, but also feeling connected to myself. So that's what 2017 was all about. 2018 was all about collaboration. I'd been in my business for a few years and I built it up by word of mouth, no paid advertising, and I was running a successful business. But to take it to that next level, I needed collaboration, which is what I worked on in 2018 to collaborate with other businesses. 2019, it was all about growth because I built this business and I just really wanted to grow. And so that's when I started to delve into the coaching side of it, and the collaboration that I had set up in 2018 had led me down that space into coaching. So I went and did my coaching certifications, a couple of them at the end of 2019. So that was growth. So achieved that again. And then in 2020, I was completing my certification in coaching, and I really wanted to be confident because, I built this business over, 5 years, and even in my corporate career, I had achieved a lot, and I just didn't have the confidence in myself and the results that I delivered. So that's what 2020 was all about. Obviously, everyone got their confidence knocked out of them in 2020, but I still maintained that, and I really sort of believed in myself and still kept my business going. Yes, I did go off and also do corporate work through 2020, pivoted, but I still kept the confidence to keep my business running. 2021 was all about ignite. It was about igniting the fire in my belly. It was igniting every part of my business just to fall back in love with it again. Because after 2020, we all needed to ignite the shit out of our lives. 2022, well, it was all about action. The most action I had in 2022 was actually on planes, boarding planes, getting off plane, booking flights. 2022 there was a lot of action. It wasn't quite the intentional action that I set out to achieve in 2022, but I definitely had action in 2022. Now for 2023, my word is fun. I have started to really weave that in the last couple of months, but 2023 is all going to be about fun. If it's a business decision, is this going to bring fun to me? Is it going to bring joy to my clients? Am I going to have fun doing this? The car that I'm driving, is it going to be fun getting behind the wheel? The house that I'm living in, is it going to bring joy? Is it going to bring happiness? Is it going to be fun? That holiday, is that going to be fun? Hanging out with that person, are they fun? I want to bring fun because I think we've really lost that over the last few years. So that is my word for 2023. I would love you to reach out and let me know what your word is. Now, getting back to the whole point of this podcast. As I said, I've seen everyone doing, their end of year reels or their end of year posts or their end of year podcasts, all about wrapping up 2022 and sharing their highs and their lows, or sharing their lows and their highs. I always do my own thing. So, I'm not going to do that. I am going to share my highs and lows, but I'm going to flip it. I'm going to share what the low is, but then I'm going to share, well, let's flip that and how we make that high. So that's what I'm going to do with my podcast today. So if you're listening to this on podcast platforms, in the show notes, there will be links to anything I talk about today. And if you're watching this on YouTube, I'll also have the show notes in here. So let's see how the year started. So at the end of 2021, I did 75 hard, and it just really, it's a really tough mental toughness challenge. And I smashed it out of the park. I lost 13 kilos. I changed all my habits. I changed my mindset. Everything was different. I was a different person. I walked into 2022 a different person, and I'm never going back to the old Sharon, like that 2021 prior person. 2022, it really set me up for success, and it changed everything. And I brought that into 2022. And speaking of that, if you've seen snippets on social media, you see them releasing something called Unleashed. And I spoke a lot about 75 hard over the last year. Unleashed is a component of 75 hard with so much more in it. It is going to be life-changing. So I will be dropping details on Unleashed today. So stay tuned on my socials. But if you want to know more, I will also drop a link in the show notes. Now, January 2022. So January, we had my 16-year-old twins got their learner's license, which means we had to do 200 hours of driving, which we've now done with them. And they've passed their, their logbooks and all the different things they've got to do. Now they've just got the driving test next Friday. So this time next week, oh my goodness, they will be driving around their own. Fingers crossed, hopefully. So I guess the low part is, having to do 200 hours with learners, like just so nerve-wracking and grey hair, coffee and wine moments. But the upside of having two learners at the same time is that you're getting to spend extra time bonding with them. Like when Ilaria did her learners hours, we drove up to the Sunshine Coast, we drove into the city, we drove down to the Gold Coast, we had a lunch, and we'd always say, like a Saturday or Sunday, depending on when she worked, we always had a day where we spent, a couple of hours driving somewhere. And it was, yes, her getting her hours in, it was also spending that one-on-one time with them. And that was what was great with the boys. Like, yes, we had 100 hours each to learn, but it also gave us time spent with them that we would never normally spend, or they come to us, or they come to things with us so they could drive and get the hour. So, they did more with us than what they would normally do. And the flip side is that they are now both car owners. Like they started off with my older son's car. They went halves in that, and now they've actually got a car each. So one of them bought the Mazda out, and then the other one got a car last week. So the lows of, you know, all those nerve-wracking hours, they've now got their own car. So hopefully this time next Friday, they'll be both driving themselves around. So that was flipping it around. January, I also took my first flight since April 2021, and just so much travel. I did a couple of corporate contracts this year, which saw me in every state in Australia, Tasmania included, so much travel. And the negative part of so much travel is that, you know, you're bouncing around everywhere. You know, sometimes I've been in 3 states in one day, and it's just exhausting. And it's, you know, your relationship struggle because you don't get to spend the time with people because you're bouncing around everywhere and you miss things. But the upside of that is that I was very intentional about creating space when I traveled. So space before I went, when I got home. I always made sure that I exercised whenever I got to where I was going, and then I ate nutritious meals as well. And so the upside about traveling too is I got to catch up with friends that I hadn't seen for years, because I'm like, hey, traveling to Adelaide for a client next week, can we catch up? Or, you know, traveling to Perth, can we catch up? So yes, the travel was really consistent. I did 55 flights in 2022. 10 of those were personal, 45 were for clients. So like I didn't pay for any of the client travel. Client paid for that. Clients, I should say, different clients. But yeah, travel takes its toll, you know, but you know, I got to have a lot of downtime, and you know, and times where I'm on flights, you know, 5 hours at a time, or in airports for a couple of hours at a time. So I used it to do self-development, to listen to podcasts, to read books, to get my thoughts out of my head and onto paper, to actually get a lot of clarity around the year, to actually really sit down and work out what I want and who do I want to be. So that was the upside about traveling. The other thing with traveling is, you know, out of the 10 personal flights I did this year, I got to go to Adelaide, Sydney and New Zealand with my mum. And with my daughter, I got to go to Sydney, New Zealand and Bali. And with my husband, we did some trips to Sydney, and we also did a couple of trips to Bali. So that's the upside of travel, is that we've got to spend some great family time together and make some amazing memories. And also, I did a few domestic trips with girlfriends for girls trips away. So that was really important too, to weave those in, because, you know, we all need that sort of fun time, because, you know, traveling with mom is amazing, but it's a different experience to then traveling with your husband, because then that's a different experience in itself. And then traveling with friends, they're very different dynamics. And yeah, with mum, it's all about making memories, and that with the trip with my husband, it's about the time for us together to bond as husband and wife. And then with my friends, it's just going and having fun, you know, coming back to my 2023. So the next thing, health-wise. So a couple of years ago, I had a squamous cancer cut out of my nose, and so always been very vigilant around skin checks. Early this year, I had a skin check on my chest, and it has come back with a type of sun damage that it will turn to cancer if it's not treated. So biopsies on that. But, you know, because I get checked every year, this is your reminder to go and make sure you get a yearly skin check. Because it gets checked so regularly, it will actually just able to do a biopsy and freeze it. So that was the upside of that. And I also get regular colonoscopies every 5 years. Not very nice, not a nice thing to talk about, but you know what? We actually need to use our voice to remind, you know, not just women, but women and men, to actually make sure you get annual checks and get your body checked out. If something's not right, get it checked out. So yeah, the low of that was that I had the yucky colonoscopy and endoscopy this year. Good thing is that my colonoscopy doesn't need to be done for another 5 years, but the endoscopy another 2 years, because I didn't quite execute the health plan that was put in place for me. So since that day that I had that done, and my surgeon said, we might need to look at some other options, I went, actually, I haven't been taking my tablets because I've been traveling a lot, so I haven't been consistent with them. So every day since that day where she came back and said, okay, we need to look at another action plan, I'm like, no, actually, I think it's because I haven't been taking the medication. So intentional now about taking it every single day. Haven't missed a day since. So turning negatives into positive. Now and I always do, like, ever since I did 75 hard, I always make sure that health is my number one priority, especially when I'm traveling. Always make sure that you're getting out in nature, you're eating good, you're staying hydrated, and that you're doing all these checks. So make sure you have, yearly blood tests, yearly skin tests, and if there's anything in your family, make sure you're always getting things checked regularly. So that's a priority. Speaking of health, so it was 4 years this year since my dad passed away, and one of the things that came out of sitting down with her mum and really looking at what she wanted to do as this new chapter in her life is what she wanted to do. And she said, hey, I've got this bucket list. I'm like, whoa, okay. And she goes, yeah, I want to go to Melbourne. I want to go on a cruise. I want to come up to Queensland for a week. I want to go to Western Australia. I want to go to South Australia, and I want to go to New Zealand. So October this year, we completed her bucket list. So, a really sad thing about her putting the bucket list together on her own to do some things that she wanted to do for herself. The great side of that is my mum and I have done that. We've traveled to Melbourne, done the cruise, Queensland, WA, SA, New Zealand. We've done all that. We've built some absolutely beautiful memories. We've had so much fun. We've got some beautiful photos. We've done experiences that she would never have done. We took her to an ice bar in New Zealand, and she was freezing cold, but she's still stayed in there for 40 minutes. She went in hot springs in New Zealand. She went to some amazing shows that she would never have seen. She went wine tasting in Western Australia. She went to a Fringe Festival in Adelaide. Like, she's just culturally as well. We just did so many amazing things. And yeah, just absolutely amazing. And to round it all off, she doesn't know yet, but she was gifted a hot thermal springs package in Melbourne for Christmas. But part of that is we started in March 2020, we started her bucket list. And the first trip we did was in Melbourne. And then New Zealand was was the last thing on her bucket list, which we just did. And we did the hot springs, and she loved it. So my gift to her for Christmas was a full day at a thermal hot springs in Melbourne, where they've got about 70 different springs. But what I'm also doing is we're going to go and see an amazing show. We're also going to go to the Art Nouveau Museum. I'm going to spend 3 nights in Melbourne. So it's it's that sort of wrapping up the beautiful memories of the bucket list that we've done. So we started off in Melbourne in 2020, and we're going to finish in 2023 in Melbourne. So yeah, so excited about that. So she doesn't know all the components yet. She will find out that tomorrow though. Next thing, our son moved out, which was it was like, we went from a family of 6 to a family of 5, like, as far as like living arrangements. And I was like, oh my God, my first child has, flown the coop, flown the nest, whatever it's called. And I was like, and I don't have him coming home every day, or what are you doing? And, are you here for dinner? And find out about his day. But the upside is he built his own house on his own, solo person that started working at 18, he's just turned 22, built his own beautiful house. And he's moved into that because it's finished. So yes, I don't have him under my roof, but he's under his own roof now. So that's really exciting. So that was, just amazing in March when he moved into that. Speaking of houses, we put our family home up for sale April, May, and decided that we were going to sort of switch things up with what we were going to do. And we've been in this house 12 years. I've never really liked it, but we've done a lot of renovations and took it from 4 bedrooms to 6 and 2 bathrooms to 3. And it's quite a big house, but, it's a mixture of old and new. And we'd sort of come to the decision to sell it. And then we didn't sell it. So that's probably our low point. We got a really good offer, but we just decided that it wasn't enough to actually move. We had a certain figure that we wanted to get. We didn't quite get that. And so when we actually sat down and looked at, because we had an investment apartment where we live locally, and then we had another investment apartment down at the Gold Coast, which is my happy place, which if you see me on social media, it's always at my happy place down the Gold Coast. And then we had our house here, which is the one that we were trying to sell, and then we had another investment property around the corner. So what we actually ended up deciding on is that our main house that we live in, if we developed that, we would actually be so much better off financially, because we would make a lot more money if we developed the block, split the block in two, and actually did two houses. So what we are doing, okay, yes, we didn't sell a house, but it's so much better, because when we have our DA development application in council at the moment, we're splitting the block into two, and we're building two beautiful coastal theme homes that will start in March. So we're knocking this house down in February, and we have sold our 2 apartments, and we replaced those with another house about 5 minutes away. So we're going to go and live in that house while this one gets demolished and the 2 get built. And then our other house around the corner, which we've got tenants in, that will get demolished near the end of 2023, and then we build a duplex there. So we're doing the development here with the 2 houses, and then our other house around the corner will get demolished, and then we build 2 duplexes there. Now, I said about our happy place down the Gold Coast. We actually sold that this year, so that was really sad. But yes, I sold my happy place. I can't believe it. Everyone goes, why? But we have now bought a house, which is currently under construction, which will be finished end of January, so be ready to settle about March. We're going to, so instead of holidaying every now and then in our happy place, we're actually going to be living permanently in our happy place, in a big home instead of in a 2-bedroom apartment. So yes, I've sold my happy place, which was a 2-bedroom apartment on the beach, and bought a 4-bedroom house with a study and a pool. So we were 50 meters from the beach. We're now 500 meters from the beach, but we're going to live in there full time. That's going to be our life. And that was something that we didn't think was going to happen until we retired, but we made it happen. So that's what's happening on the front. So us and the 3 kids will go and live at Victoria Point while we're finishing off construction on the new house down the coast, and whilst we're doing the construction in our current property. And then we will move to the Gold Coast full time. And the kids not sure. So they've got a year sort of just to decide what they want to do, whether they stay here or whether some go down the coast, some stay here, or what they do. So that's what's happening on the home front. So very, very busy. So that's a lot sort of personal. Now around my business, this year was going to be a lot around growing my one-to-one coaching and introducing a group coaching program. Now, every time I went to look at my group coaching program, it didn't align. It didn't feel right. I wasn't connected with it. Wasn't in flow. And I just couldn't, it just wasn't what I wanted to put out there. And so I didn't put it out. With my one-to-one coaching that I focus on coaching with women, I wanted to grow that a lot this year, and that didn't happen. Now, 2 reasons it didn't happen. One is I said yes to corporate coaching this year, and another corporate client. So I spent 8 months at the start of the year working predominantly with a corporate client, and then 5 months at the end of the year working for another corporate client. Both of those have finished up now, and I'm now doing some coaching with a corporate client in a national capacity. So going around Australia again, coaching. So whilst that's more corporate coaching than coaching women and empowerment, whilst it's still bringing in amazing amount of money and giving me amazing opportunities and amazing growth and great income, it's not what I wanted for this year. So whilst the corporate side of my business has absolutely smashed it out of the park this year, and it's been amazing. It's been so much fun. It's been exciting. It's been 45 flights is what the corporate travel has done. But it meant that, that I had my small base of one-to-one coaching that I have, but I didn't grow that. I kept the existing coaching clients, but I didn't grow that to where I wanted to. So that's the focus for 2023, is to really grow that. And my group program, if you see me talking about Unleashed, that is what's going to be my group program. And it's not just for, women in business or for female entrepreneurs. It is for anyone. And that is launching later on. I'm going to throw some details out. It's going to be officially released on the 1st of January. And it's going to be a 9th of January start date, but more to come on that. So really connected with this group program. I'm so glad I didn't launch it earlier, because I just didn't have it right. I wasn't connected with it. And now 100% amazing. It's going to be like life-changing for so many people. So I'm so glad that it's getting launched now and not last year, and not at the start of the year when I was going to, because it just wasn't at the right time. And now it's the right program. It's something that I've been working on for a year. The next thing was that I, started off with my podcast a couple of years ago now. I'm up to this is episode 57. And the podcast has been inconsistent. I haven't released it weekly. It's been a couple of months since I did my last episode. And I guess, I had a combination of solo episodes and guest episodes, and I haven't grown the podcast to where I would like it to. So I'm going to really focus heavily on being consistent with it next year. I've had a lot of people over some reason over the last couple of months, when I haven't had any episodes going out, I've had lots of people reach out to me and say, hey, I'd love to be a guest, or, I've got this person that would be a great guest. So it's really like, okay, I need to get this happening, because I've got people reaching out to me about my podcast. So I need to be consistent. So that's the thing, I haven't really done much with the podcast, but then the flip side is that I've had a number of people reach out to me to be a guest, or for me to be a guest. So the podcast will be consistent. So from this week, it'll come out every Thursday. So today's obviously dropping all around 2022. On Sunday, there'll be a podcast come out all around Unleashed and what it is. And then it will be every Thursday consistently. Now, you've got the option of listening to the podcast wherever you listen to your podcast, or you can go and watch it actually on YouTube. And Anchor now do a video and audio podcast. So you could be watching this also on Spotify or wherever they do the videos. The other thing, when we're talking about consistency, I was quite inconsistent with social media. So, I'd pop up and I'd be there, and then I would sort of not be there. And then I'd, talk about, what I was doing and what I was up to. And then you probably didn't really sort of see much. So I wasn't consistent. So I didn't have the growth in my followers. Did with my email list. But what it meant for me is that I created more space. So I didn't feel that, I haven't posted today, or, I haven't spent time doing my content. So, trying to quickly rush and post something, or, working till late to get content out there. And so what I did was I created space and I created flow. I created content when I felt in flow, and when I didn't. And, because I was away so much this year, when I was away with my mum or my daughter or my husband, I tried not to be on socials too much. And I just, shared content when it felt right, when I felt in flow, and when I sort of felt connected. So that's the thing I want to do for next year, is just sort of share so much more around, what I'm doing, how I'm working with clients. I did a VIP session with a client the other day, and I did this video when I first went, I've got this VIP session today, and I'm going to VIP planning session, and I'm going to take you through behind the scenes. And then I did the whole day with the client, and then I forgot to record any video or any photos. I'm like, oh my God, that was just the most amazing session. And I didn't record it, didn't take any of the behind the scenes. So much more consistent with that next year, so I can share what it's like to work with me, and if you're wondering what it's like to work with me, reach out and we can jump on and have a coaching session, so you can get a bit of a feel for what it is actually like to work with me. That's pretty much it around my sort of best and worst, or highs and lows of 2022. I felt that I had a lot more space, even though I traveled so much and it was very busy. I had a lot of downtime either side of traveling. So, if I was traveling late at night. Then I made sure that the next morning I didn't have anything on for the first couple of hours, and that, you know, I looked after my health and you still move my body all the time. I didn't get to walk a lot with Lisa, my friend that I usually walk with every day, but I made sure that I still took walks. And yeah, just really practicing gratitude. I've got my grateful shirt on. It's just, you know, about the year that was. And yes, I'm like a lot of people where I thought I'd end up at the end of the year, or what I thought I would do through the year and what I would achieve. Probably didn't all pan out, but does any year ever happen 100% to what we planned? And we always set out with an intention. And unless we're actually intentional about every day what we're doing, we're not going to achieve it. And that's why for me, I don't set out so much about, you know, writing goals and doing this. I really want to put down actions, what I'm going to do. So I'm not doing goal setting for 2023. I'm actually putting down the action plan on what I'm actually going to do so that I get what I want. So I'll just repeat that again. I'm not going to set goals for 2023. I'm going to write out an action plan so I can actually get what I want and achieve what I want. Not write down goals and have them sitting there and, you know, on a whiteboard or on a screensaver, or, you know, on a fancy mood board. No, what is it? Dream board? No, vision board. Have them sitting on there, and like I have for the last couple of years, and it not coming to fruition. It's the things that I intentionally took action each day that are the things that I actually achieved, like, you know, getting my dream beach house, you know, getting space, working with amazing clients, like all the things that I've done this year is because I took intentional action. So with that said, yeah, so much gratitude for the year. I haven't spent time with some family and friends that I would love to. You know, I've built great relationships with the people that I have been able to catch up in 2022. But, you know, there's a lot of friends that I did and family that I haven't got to catch up with in 2022. So just really grateful for the people that I did get to make some beautiful memories, and making sure that I spend more time in 2023 making more memories, because relationships are really important, whether it's with friends, families, neighbors, with clients, with potential clients, relationship with yourself. Don't forget that one. It's the most important relationship you can have. And, you know, with partners as well, just really being intentional and actually taking the time out when you're with them to actually be present and be in the moment and not be on your phone, or, you know, thinking about what else you're going to do for the day. So as I said, yeah, the podcast will release every Thursday. There'll be another new cover. Yes, I did update the cover this year, but there'll be another new cover for 2023. And that's it. If you've loved this episode, let me know, and you know, make sure you subscribe so that you never miss an episode. Enjoy the rest of 2022, what's left, and you know, set yourself up for an amazing 2023 with setting actions and intentions rather than goals. That's it from me. I'll see you next year.